Hi everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Jinx game I played in high elo. This is actually part 2 of this game. In part 1 we covered how I played through the early game from behind in a pretty tough matchup. In this video, we're going to go over the macro decisions I made in the mid game that quickly put us in a position to win the game. We'll be starting the video where we left off from part 1, but first let's go over my game plan. Your primary goal as Jinx in the mid game is to break the outer towers while not compromising the spread of your team's farm. Basically, you want to make sure your side lanes are farmed and slow pushing to the enemy before you group with your laners to push towers, otherwise your team ends up losing side lane farm. This pretty much comes down to lane assignments and playing around tempo advantages and disadvantages across the map. To clarify, tempo is the advantage gained over an opponent to move somewhere on the map first by shoving a wave faster, getting a kill, taking a better pathing, etc. We'll talk about lane assignments first. So, once you break bot tower as Jinx, your first priority with lane assignments is to rotate yourself to break the other outer towers while directing your teammates to the lane you're leaving to keep everyone's farm up. When doing this, you want to avoid rotating laners out of winning matchups while also keeping a wave clear champ in the mid lane to keep control over the map. We'll talk more about this soon. By splitting farm effectively, you can maximize everyone's CS per minute and avoid getting sucked into a chaotic game by scaling properly. It also usually puts your team in a strong position to punish a messed up rotation by the enemy, which is insanely common in any solo queue YOLO. For example, let's say your team is 1-2-1, being 1 top, 2 mid, 1 bottom, with jungler near mid and the enemy sends 3 players bottom for a gank. Instead of sending your 3 from mid to bottom to respond to the gank, you can punish their 3 players lost tempo by pinging to push top and mid. From there, you can either just push down mid, or have the first lane that can get a tempo advantage with wave priority, which is being able to push the wave first, rotate to the other for a dive or a 3-4 on 1 advantage to take a free tower. If you're rotating from mid to top, remember to have someone mid for the next incoming minion wave. That being said, sometimes it's better to just help your teammates or clean up kills in the side lane. Jinx scale is super hard, so guaranteed free kills in the mid game are always welcome. But the point is, Jinx can push towers fast enough that if you see a chance to rotate to a tower with a wave in front of it with a tempo advantage, chances are you can kill that lane's tower without falling behind on tempo yourself. This can be an extremely abusable strength in many situations, similar to Tristana. On a side note, getting people to listen to your lane assignments can be pretty tough sometimes, but if you stick to using a few well-timed and considerate pings, like using an assistance ping or 2 on a fat minion wave slow pushing to you compared to spamming and yelling, and your calls make sense, then you can really break open the game with pushing 80 carries. Whew, okay, that was a lot to soak up. To TLDR it, my missions this mid game are: Mission 1, keep everyone farming so I can scale properly into the late game as Jinx. Mission 2, break outer towers wherever I can by using my range and push advantages. And Mission 3, rotate and fight around tempo advantages and disadvantages, prioritizing catching minion waves and scaling over fighting skirmishes. By following these missions, I can play an airtight mid game where I'll be steadily farming into the late game and taking towers wherever I'm allowed to. Okay, finally, let's get into it. Starting from where we left off in part 1, I'm positioning by my frozen minion wave and I throw traps on Lucian as he walks up. I kite backward as the enemy team engages and my team counters pretty quickly. Somehow we end up with a freaking 5v5 in the bot lane. I ran the numbers going in this play, by the way, like no problem. Now, as I'm backing, I noticed that Ahri is staying behind to attack bot tower instead of using her tempo advantage to get to mid first over Lissandra. A few moments later as I'm in fountain, she's still at bot lane as the next wave is pushing out. Real quick, where would you go from here? Well, this Sona starts pinging Ahri back to leave the mini wave for me, but we have a few problems here. Ahri's about to be behind on tempo with Lissandra, and there's a big wave pushing at mid. Graves is also pathing to red. If Ahri leaves the bot wave for me and backs now, Lissandra can shove the fatty wave into our mid tower instantly, and roam bot with her tempo advantage over Ahri for an easy dive to end my laning phase. Instead, I ping on my way to mid, signaling to Ahri to just shove that bot wave as fast as she can for a back. This way, I can match the Lissandra's mid tempo, while Ahri clears the wave I would have missed at bottom, letting us both farm while also cancelling out Lissandra's tempo advantage. To finish the rotation, after shoving mid, I'll path bottom to catch the next wave the Lucian will shove, while Ahri walks mid with the next mid minion wave. By doing this, we're playing to missions 1 and 3, not missing any mini waves to towers while rotating around a tempo disadvantage. If we didn't do this, Lissandra could have shoved mid and set up a dive on us on tower, or at the least we'd have lost around 360 gold as a team in minion waves. Now, even though I matched the Lissandra mid and can now path the bot safely, it's important to remember that we're still focusing on minion waves to make up for a tempo disadvantage until Ahri's back to pushing minions at mid. At this moment though, Ahri's still at base and Lissandra's at mid. On the way to bot lane, Sona and Graves want to clear vision and river. However, we've been playing the last minute around the fact that Ahri is behind in tempo, and she still is. If we try to clear vision and river here, there's like no way we don't get engaged on by Lissandra, since their jungler is probably here too, as Scuttle and Dragon are up, and they know that Ahri's still behind in tempo. Knowing this and playing around mission 3, I spam back pings and continue to haul ass to the bot lane, trying to catch the wave Lucian is shoving. This keeps anyone from dying during the rotation, and now I have a chance to get a tempo advantage on Lucian, who had just backed after shoving the wave in at bottom. I continue to ping for Graves and Sona to be careful in river, and ping myself pushing bottom as I gain tempo and Ahri catches up to mid. Pinging while you're fixing the side lane can be important, especially in moments like these. If my team insists on skirmishing, my pings will at least let them know not to expect me to come immediately. After using my tempo to get wave priority over Lucian, we move to Dragon since Ahri outplays an assassination attempt by Nidalee. Which was probably because of my sick pings, to be honest. Like, how else does my solo queue teammate outplay a pick? Now, let's take a step back and watch this Dragon attempt. So, Irelia solo killed Sion while I was walking bottom, and used her tempo advantage to collapse mid. So we pincered their team while they mindlessly walked toward us trying to contest Dragon without a jungler. This was actually a pretty excellent tempo play from Irelia, who could have chosen to just auto her tower, but instead sacrificed herself for the sickest roaming gauge. As soon as fights like these end, you already want to be thinking about lane assignments while considering missions 1 and 2. Where would you go from here? Well, Sion is already probably walking mid to defend a tower, and Ahri is already at the mid minion wave. With everyone else dead and mid already being farmed, I use my tempo advantage to walk straight to bottom to spread farm and to try to break the tower. Of course I'm Jinx, so the tower goes down pretty quickly. I back immediately after shoving the incoming wave, and now this is a pretty good time to start considering the next lane assignment. Now, I'm sure you guys have had games where you want to switch to another lane, but you have no idea how to go about it, and half the time your solos might tell you to screw off anyway. Let's take a quick minute to go over a couple scenarios you can use to rotate yourself into a lane. If the wave is pushing in, and you can tell your laner you want to rotate there early enough, you can ask them to let it keep pushing, and go for a lane gank. After the gank, shove the wave in, and hopefully they'll reset to your old lane. Or, you can just help them shove the wave in fully if they're trolling and won't leave, giving them a wave of tempo while you leave to ward, check for pinks, and eventually catch your lane's farm. Hopefully, they'll take that chance to leave the lane themselves, otherwise just leave immediately and try not to tilt them. Keep in mind that you want to keep someone with wave clear in mid, usually that's Jinx, but if you have like a Xerath or Zoe, you'll want to keep them mid so their game doesn't get thrown out of whack. From here, I would have pathed top and kept Ahri mid if our Irelia wasn't raffle stomping the Sion, but she is, so I gotta play some diplomacy tactics in chat and convince the Ahri to go bottom so we don't lose the wave. Eventually she listens, and I can look to pressure mid tower with all 3 of our lanes being farmed, going back to mission 1. Now Sion and Irelia start to fight top lane, with Graves approaching and Sona starting to move as well. What would you do here? If you said go top, you may not be entirely wrong, but you forgot about mission 1. Before anything, we should clear the wave at mid first, and then decide if we're going to rotate or continue to push. I pinged this Sona back to me to do this. Watching the minimap while pushing, I see that Liz went top already, and Nid got in position to dive Ahri on the bot wave. This could look kinda bad since both of our side lanes are about to get ganked, but there is a silver lining here. Their whole team opened up a mid lane for a Jinx. So, I'll stick to mission 2 and start shooting up this tower, pinging to Sona my intentions to go for the next tower if the enemy allows us to. Again, while I'm pushing the tower, I'm keeping an eye on both side lanes to make sure we're not getting collapsed on. Once we trade mid for bot tower, I continue to shove the next minion wave while watching their bot lane on the minimap. If they don't show up on the next bot wave, I'd back off after the wave and I would have 2 options. If the Scion continues to overextend, we can walk top and pick him off. If not, I'll path to my birds through their river entrance to eventually get to my mid tower. It seems pretty out of the way, but this pathing would for sure safely get me in position to catch the next mid wave on our side of the map after their 3 from bottom move up to mid. Fortunately, these fools are still trying to base race a Jinx at bottom, so I'll call their bluff and keep hammering away at the next tower. From here, we've already put ourselves in a very strong position on the map to win the game from breaking their mid wide open. Even better, their bot lane is still overextended as hell and fell behind on tempo hard while trying to trade towers with the Jinx. Playing to mission 3, and considering how far out there they are, they're free money. I start walking down to pincer them with Graves and Ahri, shrugging off Nidalee and focusing on the champions that are way out of position on the map. While collapsing, I continuously ping my position and path on the minimap so the other side of the pincer has sufficient information to act accordingly. My engagement's a little messy at first, I swear I'm a bubble magnet this game, but I know our Graves and Ahri are close enough and that we also zone Nidalee out with some vision. As long as I don't commit until my teammates are in range, I can play aggressively and extend the fight to eventually punish their bot lane's overextension. During all this, Irelia continues to play well by taking top tower. Way to play by mission 1, Irelia. 2 minutes ago, we were down a tower without any towers taken. But through hard work, preservation, and a series of solid lane assignments and rotations, or the lack of rotating, we extended the gold lead to 5,000 gold and took 4 towers while only losing 1. Yeah, I know, pretty good, right? Let's recap on what happened. After the party bot lane, Ahri overstayed for a minion wave and fell behind on tempo against Lissandra. Instead of pathing bottom and playing into their tempo advantage, I sent myself mid and had Ahri push the incoming bot wave to defuse Lissandra's tempo over Ahri. After catching the mid wave, I immediately rotated bottom to leave no CS spared while keeping mindful of Ahri's tempo disadvantage and pinging my team away from potential disaster. While clearing the next wave to gain tempo on Lucian, Nidalee fails a pick from the region I was pinging and Irelia collapses with her tempo advantage on Scion, leading us to take Dragon and a bunch of kills. Instead of grouping mid after the teamfight, I split bottom to avoid the enemy's wave clear and take a tower while evenly distributing farm. On my next reset, I pathed mid and sent Ahri bottom since me and Sona have more pressure on outer towers, especially in mid lane. When the enemy committed 2 top and 3 bottom, I stayed mid to push instead of rotating to help my teammates. As the enemy continued to push bottom, I raced them to break another tower mid. Finally, once I broke up in mid, I decisively rotated bottom to punish their overextended bot lane as aggressively as necessary, taking advantage of Lissandra's lost tempo from coming from roaming top earlier. Well, that about covers it for this video. Thanks a bunch for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.